which sides have been the biggest over and underperformers this season? Let's take a look. So what we're going to be doing in today's video is taking a look at the bookies' predictions before a ball had been kicked this season and comparing it to where every championship side currently sits in the table. We're then going to see the gap in those two things and see just how far away a championship side is from their original predicted position by the bookies. If you are going to enjoy today's video, make sure to drop a like and do get your thoughts in the comments down below. But without any further ado, let's jump in. So coming in at the bottom of the table and as the biggest underperformers in the championship this season, it's Stoke City. Now I think a lot of us got sucked into the business that Stoke did in the summer. The bookies predicting them to finish 10th in the table before a ball had been kicked this season. They currently find themselves 19th, which is an underperformance of 9 places so far. And there's every chance that Stoke will finish even lower than 19th as well. Still well within a relegation battle. Been a tough year for them overall. The managerial change they had to make with things taking a real slide towards the end of Alex Neil's era there. And overall, it has just been a bit of a miserable year, hasn't it? Considering the optimism that was around the club at the start of the season especially. As the second biggest underperformer, it's actually Middlesbrough, who are tipped as the third favourites for promotion before a ball had been kicked. Seems a little bit strange looking back on it now, but it's worth remembering just how strong Middlesbrough were at the back end of last season. I think that went into a lot of people's thinking coming into the start of this year, even despite the fact that Borough's squad this season probably wasn't as strong as it was last year. Regardless of that, they have underperformed their original prediction by 7 places so far. Doesn't seem likely that they'll make the playoffs anymore either, with the points they have to make up on the sides above them. Then with an underperformance of 5 places, it's actually Sheffield Wednesday. Now, contrary to what a lot of fans were thinking at the time, the bookies were actually quite positive on Sheffield Wednesday's survival chances at the start of the season. Despite the turbulent summer that they had, the bookies actually predicted them to finish in 18th come the end of the season. That's of course been an underperformance from what they've showcased so far, largely due to the disastrous start they got off to the season. They have rectified things since then and actually have a really good chance of survival right now, but based on that very initial prediction, it is an underperformance of 5 places. 21st place, we've got Watford, also with an underperformance of 5 places so far. They've eventually made that managerial change, as they usually do. Things really took a slide towards the end of Valérien Ismaël's time at the club, but with an original prediction of 8th, a current position of 13th, it has been a slight underperformance from what the bookies originally thought. No surprises as Blackburn are in this region of the table. They've underperformed their bookies prediction by 4 places so far. The bookies thinking they'd finish 11th, they're currently 17th, and based on the current form book, I think there's every chance that they finish the season considerably lower than 17th. John Eustace still waiting for his first win as Blackburn boss. Like a few of the sides in this region of the table, injuries haven't been kind to them, but the overall makeup of that squad just hasn't been right all season. Under John Dole Thomason, while they were entertaining at times, the run they went on towards the end of his tenure was absolutely disastrous, and they've not really been able to recover since then. Next up on this list, we've got Millwall. They've also underperformed their original prediction by 4 places so far. Millwall, a lot of us expecting a solid mid-table finish from them, especially under Gary Rowett. They then went ahead and made that change, and appointing Edwards just didn't work out whatsoever. They have been dragged into this relegation battle, but have since pulled themselves away from that to sort of rectify this position, but currently sitting 16th, it is still an underperformance. Now next up, we've got Birmingham, only an underperformance of 2 places. A lot of people were hot on Birmingham at the start of the season. The bookies, not so much. They only had them to finish in 19th, which is in and around where they are at the moment, but given the recent form book, there is every chance that Birmingham are playing in League One next season, which would be absolutely disastrous, especially when you take into consideration all the optimism that was around the club and the new ownership in the summer. From the outside looking in, seemed like a really productive summer transfer window as well, and after a really positive start to the season, some mental decisions from behind the scenes to get rid of Eustace and replace him with Rooney, some of the other chaos that's gone on as well has led to this underperformance underperformance. Also coming in with an underperformance of 2 places, we've got Huddersfield Town, originally predicted to finish 20th in the table. They currently sit 22nd. One of the clubs involved in this relegation zone where it is all very tight, and there is every chance that by the end of the season, Huddersfield do finish in 20th, even a little bit higher or lower than that. We've spoken about it many times on the channel so far. The issue they've had this season has been with winning football matches. Only Rotherham have won less than Huddersfield up until this point. A few managerial changes in there as well has all led to this underperformance. It seems a bit mental that Leicester have led the Championship for the vast majority of the year. At one point, they were on course to becoming the best Championship side of all time, and yet they've still underperformed where they were originally predicted to finish, albeit Leicester do have a game in hand on Leeds, and if they win that game in hand, they will go back up to the top of the Championship. But as of recording, they're second. They were predicted to win the league by the bookmakers' odds at the start of the season, so there is a marginal underperformance of 1 place by the Foxes. And I mean, with the recent slide in the prolific form of Ipswich of late, there's every chance that they don't finish in the top 2, which would be a little bit disastrous. Swansea, it feels like, have rectified things in recent weeks. The win in the South Wales derby was absolutely massive for them as well. Only an underperformance of 1 place. That was significantly more in the first half of the season, especially during Duff's tenure, where it really didn't seem like that club was going anywhere. But predicted to finish 14th at the start of the season, currently sat in 15th. There's not much between those two. The same can also be said for Sunderland as well. There's been quite a few disgruntled Sunderland fans this season, and I think for good reason. It's a really bad run of form they currently find themselves on, and way cut adrifts of the playoffs now as well. That won't be happening this season. Despite all that, they were expected, going off the bookies' odds, to have a slight regression from last season. The bookies had them to finish 11th in this campaign. They currently sit 12th, which is a slight underperformance of 1 place. Now, along with the teams under and overperforming their ambitions from the start of the season, we also have a few sides who are exactly where they were predicted to be at the start of the campaign. The first of those sides is Rotherham. They were identified as the weakest side by the bookies coming into this season, the most likely to be relegated, and that has turned out to be the case. They've been way cut adrift this season and could go down as one of the worst Championship sides ever. Southampton are another interesting one, a side who has exactly matched their bookies prediction from the start of the season. Predicted to finish in 4th, currently sit 4th in real life. They still have a shot of the top 2, but they're going to need to be really consistent in picking up wins between now and the end of the campaign if they want to get that over the line. If not, it seems more than likely that it will be the playoffs for Russell Martin's men, and that was their expectations, going off the bookies at least at the start of the season. Norwich have really rectified things in recent months with this great run of form. They now find themselves 6th in the Championship and in with a really good chance of making the playoffs at the end of the season. And funnily enough, that was exactly where they were predicted to finish at the start of the season by the bookies as well. The 6th most likely side to be promoted before a ball had been kicked. They're living up to that standard right now. For Bristol City, this season has been a really inconsistent ride. Despite all that, they have actually overperformed by 1 place so far. It is all very tight in and around the middle of the Championship, and this could of course change quite drastically between now and the end of the campaign. But the bookies originally had them in 15th, they're now in 14th. It's an overperformance of 1 place, but not much to write home about. Similar circumstances with Coventry as well, also 1 place above where they were expected to finish based on their promotion odds at the start of the season. Big rebuilding job by Cov in the summer, bit of a slow start to the season, and has meant they've had to play catch up with the other playoff chasers this season, but well within the conversation right now, and also in their FA Cup semi-final as well. So could be a really exciting end to the season for Coventry, that's for sure. With this unbelievable run of form that Leeds have had recently, they've now overperformed on their expectations from the start of the season. Tipped to finish in 2nd by the bookies, they currently have that spot at the top of the tree right now. Now, of course, Leicester do still have a game in hand on Leeds, so do have the odds in their favour, I suppose, in those regards. But in terms of the run of games Leeds have between now and the end of the campaign, the fact that they are by far and away the most informed side in the league right now, I think, like a lot of people, I'm fancying them to win the title this year. But hey, we've seen crazier things happen in the past, especially when it comes to Leeds. There wasn't a lot of optimism surrounding QPR at the start of the season with Gareth Ainsworth in there. They were expected to finish 22nd and in the relegation zone. However, since Martí Cifuentes has come in, there's been a clear uplift in form there, and as a result of that, they have overperformed on their start of season expectations by 2 places so far. If they continue to hammer away at those results between now and the end of the campaign, there's every chance that they make that gap between themselves and the bottom 3 even further. Slight overperformance from West Brom as well, expected to finish in 7th at the start of the season. They're now in 5th and seem to have that 5th place spot really nailed down. Does look like it will be a playoff campaign for Carlos Corberán's men, and what a job he's done there, by the way. All the chaos at West Brom in the summer relating to the ownership didn't get much of a chance to strengthen that squad either, and you know, it's not as if he's working with a bad team or anything like that. West Brom have a very talented squad, but working with a lot of spinning plates behind the scenes, the fact they have been so consistent, especially since the turn of the year, I think is a real credit to Corberán and what he's been able to get out of that team. It seems crazy that Ipswich aren't higher up on today's video. They've been absolutely amazing for a newly promoted side, but despite that, it's worth pointing out that the expectations on Ipswich really were quite high at the start of the season as well. The bookies had them predicted to finish in 5th place as the 5th most likely side to be promoted this season. They've managed to surpass even that though, currently sit 3rd in the Championship and still in with a very good chance of finishing in the top 2 as well. Plymouth haven't been on a great run of form recently and will be nervously looking below them. Despite all that, they have overperformed on their predictions from the start of the season by 5 places so far. By the bookies, they were tipped as the 2nd most likely side to be relegated this season. They currently find themselves 18th. Now, it's all very tight in and around the bottom of the Championship right now, and give it a few game weeks, Plymouth could move up a couple of places or quite similarly move down a couple of places as well. Now, up until this point, Plymouth have done really good to keep themselves out of that bottom 3, but I mean, that would all be for nothing if by the final game week they were to go ahead and drop in there. I still think there's enough within that squad to beat the drop this season, especially with some winnable games coming up between now and the end of the campaign. But like a lot of the sides in that region of the table, it's going to be very close. As the 3rd biggest overperformers this season, it's my side, Preston North End, overperforming by 7 places. The bookies had us in 16th at the start of the season. We're currently in 9th and do have a game in hand on Norwich, still in with a marginal maybe chance of making it into the top 6. And I mean, as long as we do have something to play for in these final games of the season, I'll be happy as a North End fan. Myself personally certainly wasn't expecting a playoff challenge this season. We started the campaign like an absolute house on fire though. That's what really sort of brought up the expectations at North End this year. Had a really big slump after that, but have since recovered things. An even bigger overperformance than that though is Hull City, who have overperformed their start of the season predictions by 10 places. The bookies had them in 17th. Now, it's worth flagging up with Hull that I mean, I think it's fair to say their expectations have changed quite dramatically throughout the season and for a number of reasons. When the bookies had Hull to finish in 17th in the table, they hadn't done much summer business by that point. I think they'd only signed Liam Delap on loan, I want to say. The signing of Philogene obviously raised expectations even more. And then what was the big thing for raising expectations at Hull was the January transfer window, really with some big business to try and get them over the line and into the top 6. They've had a successive run of draws recently, and I think it's anyone's guess right now whether it'll be Hull, Norwich, Coventry or even Preston getting into that final playoff spot. And then the joint leaders in this table, along with Hull City, is Cardiff, also with an overperformance of 10 places this season. Now, it wasn't a great performance from Cardiff last time out in a crunch match against Swansea. Regardless of that though, it is worth pointing out the huge strides forward that club has made this season. They have been a frustrating watch at times this season, but thinking back to last season, all the troubles they went through, relegation fears and things like that, there's been no such worries with Cardiff this season. Also worth remembering, they were working with a transfer embargo in the summer as well. And by all metrics, that side has taken a big step forward this season. And if it can continue going like they are right now and making these strides forward, who's to say they're not competing for the top 6 next season? Well guys, there you have it. That will now wrap it up for today's video. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you did go in to enjoy, make sure to leave a like, get all your thoughts in the comments down below, and I'll see you all in the next one.